name is Sarah, and today we're doing the poetry tag. This tag was created by Rihanna from Little Library, and I was tagged in it by Emily from Emily Hornberg. I obviously have not really talked much about poetry at all on my channel. Pretty much all we've done is fiction and nonfiction, and that is because I do love poetry, but I have not read a ton of it in recent years. However, I was an English major in college, so there were certainly some classes where we studied poetry and various poets, and I do really enjoy reading poetry when I get the chance, and it's definitely something that I want to get back into hopefully sometime in 2016. This tag is pretty short. We've only got 3 questions, so let us get started. Question number 1. Who is your favorite poet and why? If I had to choose an absolute favorite, it would be E.E. Cummings. I studied E.E. Cummings in my reading literature class in college, which we jokingly called the Welcome to the English Major class. We basically studied the structure of poetry, drama, and fiction, and so during our poetry section, we studied E.E. Cummings' poem, Anyone Lived in a Pretty How Town, and if you are familiar at all with E.E. Cummings' poetry, you know his stuff is kind of weird. Using the example of Anyone Lived in a Pretty How Town, Cummings likes to take language and sort of flip it on its head, rearrange words so that you can decipher even more meaning than you would if he just wrote out sentences straight. And just because you need to experience his poetry, I'm going to read you guys one of my absolute favorites. This is number 38 of 73 poems. Silently if, out of not knowable night's utmost nothing, wanders a little guess, only which is this world, more of my life does not leap than with the mystery your smile. Sings or if, spiraling as luminous they climb oblivion, voices who are dreams, less into heaven certainly earth swims than each my deeper death becomes your kiss. Losing through you what seemed myself, I find selves unimaginably mine, beyond sorrow's own joys and hoping's very fears. Yours is the light by which my spirit's born. Yours is the darkness of my soul's return. You are my sun, my moon, and all my stars. Oh, I just love it so much. That final quote, you are my sun, my moon, and all my stars, is one of my absolute favorites of him, and I adore it. Question number 2, have you written poetry before? If so, how much? I have not written poetry extensively. I had to write it for some of those classes, particularly for the reading literature class that I took in college, but I actually wound up dropping my creative writing concentration because I didn't want to take a class in poetry writing, because poetry is one of those things for me that is very much an inspirational thing. I have found over the years that if I try to force myself to write a poem because I'm assigned it or because I feel like I need to or whatever, it never is great. But when I just let the inspiration come and the words flow, they tend to come out pretty well. So I've written a few poems in my lifetime, but not a ton. Question number 3 is not a question, but rather a task, and that is to write a poem about a topic you are passionate about and read it aloud. So like I said, poetry is not one of those things that I do well with assignments, so I'm going to read to you guys a poem that I wrote in the spring of 2011. It is my favorite poem that I have ever written, and I wrote it at a very huge turning point in my life when I had just had some major personal breakthroughs and realizations. The poem is called My Name is Sarah. My name is Sarah, and I am not perfect. They never said I had to be. They never told me what to be. But I heard perfection or failure. My name is Sarah, and I am not perfect, and so I am a failure. I tried to be a lot of things. For a while I was a dancer, but my hips were too big. For a while I was a pianist, but my hands were too small. For a while I was a singer, but my pitch wasn't quite right. For a while I tried to be perfect, but perfection is hard when you're not perfect. I learned I wasn't perfect, but I thought I had to be, so I pretended I was. My name is Sarah, and I am not perfect, but everyone thinks I am. But then an awful thing happened, the thing I feared the worst. Someone knew I wasn't perfect, and they made sure they told me so. My name is Sarah, and I'm not perfect, and my best friend told me so. I am not beautiful, but I am vain. I am not smart, but I am a know-it-all. I am not worth your time, but I think I am. I am not thin or tall. I am not talented or interesting. I am not a lot of things, but most of all, I am not perfect. And because I am not perfect, I am not worthy of love. For a long time, I've known I'm not perfect. My best friend told me so. For 6 years, I knew I wasn't perfect, and so I wasn't worthy of love. But then there was this time where a voice started whispering to me. It told me I didn't have to be perfect, but I didn't believe. Because they told me I had to be perfect, or at least that's what I heard. So since I wasn't perfect, I was a failure, And since I am a failure, I am unworthy of love. But that voice kept coming back, and it sounded different every time. And it said I didn't have to be perfect, I just had to be me. So I started to listen closer, and what I started to hear was that I didn't have to be perfect because he was perfect for me. And because he was perfect for me, I don't have to be, and that makes me worthy of love. I learned that when you're loved, your identity becomes brand new. I don't have to be perfect, but it's okay, because I am loved. And because I am loved, I am a lot of things. I am beautiful because I am his. I am smart because I know him. I am worth your time because I am worth his. I am not thin or tall, but I am made in his image. I am talented and interesting because he gave me talents and a story. I am not a lot of things, but I am a lot of things. I am a daughter of the King. I am your sister through my Christ. I am beloved. I am redeemed. My name is Sarah, and I am not perfect. So that is a really big piece of my heart and is obviously very much informed by my faith, but I really hope you guys enjoyed hearing the poem. So there you guys have it. That is the poetry tag. I hope you enjoyed hearing my answers to these questions and talking about a slightly different form of writing and story than we usually talk about on this channel. Today I'm going to tag a couple of people that I don't necessarily know your interest or love for poetry, but if you have it, I would love to hear it. Those people are Kirsty from Melbourne on My Mind and Mari from My Name is Mariness. If you want to follow me elsewhere online, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Goodreads, all at Sarah Ann Hayes. The links for those profiles will be in the descriptions below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye! Before, if so, likely due to one of her most favorite, it is likely due to what is it you plan to, which is tell me. I wrote it at the, and I wrote it at a very, at Sarah Ann Hayes. The links for all of those descriptions will be